Oh, we do have somebody in Russia. Eric is saying that he cannot hear the translations for Spanish and Russia. Um, and I'm gonna go to the English. Okay. Yeah, I just switched over to the English channel in case anybody wants to ask a question. Are there seven levels of life in this world? Um, well, that's so it depends on what you mean by level. Can you tell me what you and Elena's saying that yeah, there is no Russian translation right now. So to all our Russian audience, um, I think we have to apologize for not having a Russian translation now. Um, Bella, is there some way you could tell me what you mean by life? Oh, they heard someone else say this. Um, well, we have three realms, right? Right? Does anybody know about the three realms? Yeah, everybody knows about the three realms, right? And we have six levels within those realms, right? Yeah, so we're in the desire realm. So, um, if if you in fact mean are there seven levels of life in this world in particular, I think you would say no, although that's not necessarily something that I've ever heard before. Um, but in this world, we live in the desire realm. And can anybody out there help me by helping me with the what are the three levels within the desire realm? What are the three types of beings that live in the desire realm?
Human, gods, and like Deva, and how say that? Uh,
Demigods. Yeah.
Demigods, yes.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. So we have three within this one, right? But then we also have hell beings too, correct? So we put all of those
yes,
together. Yeah, see,
whole,
yeah, and you guys kind of help me, okay? I kind of like handling these more like a discussion, so that way there's not so much silence, and not I'm not up here just talking a lot. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Oh, and Bella, I see you now. Okay, now I can talk straight to you, Bella. Yeah. Who did you hear say that? And in what context?
Um, I maybe speak in Chinese and then who can help me to translate into English.
And yeah,
Uh,
that's perfect.
this yeah, I studied from Gershon Michael for 5 or 6 years, but
Yeah.
this year I I heard 但是呢，这一年就是这段时间，诶，我可能听到一些其他的体系，比如说像基督教，诶，他们就讲到说有什么7个层级的这种生命，所以我就想一下，不同的这种体系，他们讲的东西有可能是一样的，所以我就很好奇他们就这个可以先帮
Yeah.
忙翻译一下吗？
Right. Well, yeah. So no, that makes total sense now. Yeah. So there's a few different ways you can look at it, right? So we can look at it in terms of three, right? First. So we have three different realms within this realm, right? So we've got, can anybody help me with those? Not the three or the six types of beings, but the three levels within this realm. I know you guys have studied. Does anybody know them? No? Okay, so you also have the form and the formless realm too. I was hoping somebody would give them to me. So we have three different. I just don't want to talk so much. I kind of want you guys to interact if you can. Um, so when you say seven levels, I've never personally heard that, but I have heard of three different levels. Right? We have the desire realm, the form realm, and the formless realm. Right? So within the desire realm, we have six different types of beings. And within the form and the formless realm, if I remember correctly, there are 17 levels within the formless realm and or within the form realm. And the formless realm also has many different levels there. So it kind of just depends on how you're looking at it. I've never personally heard of there being seven levels within this world. And if you say this world, do you mean specifically like the desire realm, right? Am I just
我补
confusing you?
充一下，excuse me，
Yeah.
我补充一下，其实也许就是不同体系的不同的说法，但这里面我
Mhm.
好奇的是，最高的一种层级的生命是什么？
Mhm.
那在我们佛
Yeah.
学里面，就是佛陀，对吧？我就想确认一下这件事情。那还有更高的吗？
Uh,
我就是好
yeah.
奇这一个，没有其他的。嗯。
Yeah. 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 Totally. Yeah. And even within the formless realm. So I would suggest if this is something that really, really interests you, um, I would suggest going to what we call foundation level course 8. And that specifically deals with what they call death in the realms of existence. So the entirety of everything that you're addressing is handled in detail there. So basically, below a Buddha, right, is you have what? You have people who've reached nirvana, right? Arhats, right? And then below that, what would you have? Aryas, right? And then Arya Bodhisattvas. Yeah. But there are beings within the formless realm. So also, if you wanted to study this a little bit more too, you could go look at Geshe Michael's. He gave us this meditation back in maybe 2017 at one of the Lamrim retreats, and it's it's called the Lion's Dance. And within that teaching, Geshe Michael details all the different levels of the form and formless realm, and how to meditate and actually put your mind into those realms. So. Um, I guess in two ways, I would suggest if you have the time and if you are motivated and inspired enough, maybe seek out what's called uh, foundation course 8. Okay. Yeah, because it's all right there. Yeah. I can actually try to put a link to it over here for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I hope I helped you. I mean, instead of just pointing you towards somewhere else to go and look. But it's very, very detailed, and I think all of your questions will be answered. Yeah. Gwen put a comment in the chat here that said ACI 8 is pretty good. So I think yeah, if you have questions about the types of beings that are in the different realms, or the different realms themselves, that would be a really, really good place to go and spend maybe a week or two just kind of listening to the teachings and going through the readings. Um, and let me see just really quick. So we have another question here. It says, "Hello, teacher. How can I heal the fear of separation? I'm already terrified at the thought of it even before it happens." Yeah, I hate to say this, but I don't hate to say it. Um, Work with the seeds, right? You have to work with the seeds. Um, Make sure that you're taking care of other people, even in small ways, to protect them, right? If they're anxious, right? So if someone's feeling anxious, try to give them comfort, right? And then rejoice on that at night. Yeah. keep your book. I have my vow book here, and whenever I do things, I try to write the little things that I do down so that I can rejoice about them at night. Uh, so I totally understand. I think I get the same fear of separation from many things. Maybe people in my life. I have a daughter. I have other people that I really, really care about a lot. And sometimes, yeah, the thought of losing them can make you anxious, right? A little fearful. So I think it's really simple. If you find that it's kind of if it's causing you a lot of distress and problems, um, I think you need to start looking for more people around you who are feeling anxious, right? And people who are um, maybe fearful themselves, and provide for them some comfort and care. And I think you'll find that it'll get better. Um, so, I mean, I'd say for 99% of these questions, the answer is just going to be work with the seeds. But um, okay, Irivor is Irivor is asking to make him a panelist, please. Um, if there's somebody who can handle that. So David here has another um, respected teacher. Could you, from the perspective of an overall systematic framework, introduce the classical structure of mixed nuts projects, as well as the recommended development directions and paths for groups practice, such as Chinamatra, Ajamaka, Anuttara Yoga, Tantra, and Vajrayana? Yeah. I'd say, if you wanted to look at the structure of the mixed nuts project, it's probably more helpful to look at the structure of the Geshe program at the great monasteries. Um, and there's a system there where you study 5 books, right? And you study those books um, in a certain progression, right? Um, okay, Irivor's here. He's raising his hand. Um, yeah, let me see here. David, as well as the recommended development directions and paths for group practice. Um, well, you can go two different ways, I think. David, I don't know who asked the question, but you can go 2 different ways. Um, I won't get too detailed or too technical, but you've got a Lam Rim path, right? What's called Lam Rimbas. So if you practice the Lam Rim path, we would call you a Lam Rimba. And then you have something called a Tsin And a Sennipa is a person that lives within the realm of definitions and divisions. And they study the texts in a more technical way, kind of like what we're doing in the Mixed Nuts project. I think it's very helpful to do both, right? So, what I would once again, if you wanted to study the Lam Rimpa path, you would want to find Geshe Michael's teachings on the Lam Rim that started back in 2010. If you wanted to study the Tsin path and go the way of a monastic education, you would probably want to seek out the foundation level courses and start at course 1. And there's no way that you will go wrong if you do both of those things. Uh, so, David, I'm not too sure who asked the question, but I hope that answered it. Yeah. Yeah, I think going through a total breakdown of the mixed nuts project may be a little bit beyond the scope here of maybe what we're trying to do. But the structure and framework
Pero la
of
estructura,
the stru
Marco,
Marco, the structure and framework of the mixed nuts project is reflected in both the Lamrim studies and the foundation courses. Okay, the husband someone has a husband who's been a heavy smoker for many years, but after the wife gained spiritual insights, the smell of cigarettes makes her feel extremely uncomfortable and even nauseated. Could you please tell me how to plant precise karmic seeds to help the husband quit smoking? Um, well, I hate to say it again. It can be quite simple if you look at it this way. I used to wonder the same thing a lot. Um, Things happen in all of our lives, and we have to wonder what's the specific karma for this, and how do I deal with it, right? It's a question I ask almost every day because something happens. Um, I think the first time I really because I used to go to Geshe Michael personally all the time and ask him questions just like this, right? And essentially, he would just say, "You got to work with the seeds." But I had a hard time identifying exactly which seeds to work with, right? And it kind of hit me one time in a teaching because Geshe Michael said, you have to find the essence of the problem, right? You have to find the essence of the karma. So once again, we don't have to do a one-to-one karma. I mean, although you probably could help somebody whose husband was addicted to smoking as well, that's a possibility. But it's more so addressing the essence of the karma that you're trying to plant or you're trying to clear, right? Um, so once again, you can do two things. And I ask everybody out there, if you are listening, say these two words, tsok tsak and drip jang. Tsok tsak and drip jang. It means that you have to plant the seeds that you want, right? But you also have to clear away the old seeds that are keeping you from seeing the thing that you want, right? I would say if you wanted to help your husband quit smoking, um, so I just got a text message saying that I've been speaking out of turn here. And anyways, you might want to disregard what I've said out there about some of the courses. I'll try to handle these things a little bit more precisely then without referring you to other places. Um, yeah, so you want to find the essence of the karma there. And first off, I would look inside myself, right? In ways that I'm slowly or in small ways that I'm addicted to, let's say, maybe it's chocolate, maybe it's coffee, right? But we all carry some addiction with us throughout our lives, don't we? Um, and I think maybe working with your own um, addictions and dedicating the seeds that you're planting towards clearing this up with your husband is probably a good place to start. Right? If it's something that's bringing you a lot of distress, um, try quickly to focus on your own addictions and dedicate that to seeing those that you love clean up addictions that are harming both themselves and you. Um, okay, do we have, and was that clear? Yeah.
Hey, Adam,
Yeah.
it's Anjali. I just wanted to
Hey.
jump. How are you? I
Hey,
just wanted
good.
to jump in and just mention one thing about this that I've worked on when I see addiction in my life is to work on it in small ways inside myself, like things that I'm doing. Like if I have a little bit of an addiction to let's say just liking popcorn a lot,
Yeah.
can I restrain
Yeah.
from doing those kind of things? I think small ways we can do that within ourselves with addiction is really interesting, or scrolling, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that was just something I thought I'd throw in there, but because I really
Yeah.
like the idea of doing 4 steps, but I
Yeah.
also was thinking like internally, what are the small
Hmm.
ways that I can look at I have obsessions or addictions
Yeah.
to things? Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. I think I could share with you guys too something that has been very powerful in my life. This was a practice I did very heavily for about 3 months at the beginning of last year. I had some things that I wanted to clear out because I was experiencing some things in my world that I wasn't happy with. And I sat down to reciting the diamond cutter 2 times a day. And before I went into it, I dedicated that recitation of the diamond cutter towards clearing up the seeds that were ripening for me. And if anybody's ever actually read through the entire diamond cutter, um, it's it's one of the most powerful kind of practices I think you can do. Um, some people actually think that the diamond cutter text itself is uh, is angelic. Um, there's a whole practice of actually using that text as if it was a deity. Um, so you'd be surprised what you could accomplish just by reading the diamond cutter and dedicating it to cleaning out your old bad seeds. And they say that just reciting one verse of the diamond cutter brings so much virtue that it can't be contained within the within space, within the universe. So that might be another thing. Let's see. Two ways to handle that, right? You can do purification practices. So there are kind of meditations that we give um, to clean out our old bad seeds, but then also to collect the merit and virtue that we need. Um, One of those might be looking at the what's called Ganden Lagama. It's a super good practice for that. Um, and I would say probably working with the seeds on a day-to-day basis. So looking for ways in which you are, like Anjali suggested, are you slightly addicted to your phone? Are you addicted to, bad food or, um, it could be a whole host of things, but working with the karma there, right? And also dedicating it to seeing your husband cleaning up his own addictions. And yeah, another one could also be using the diamond cutter itself as a recitation practice. And they say that it cleans out a lot of old bad seeds and you plant a lot of really good ones. So if you do it with a pure heart, a good intention, and you dedicate it to seeing your husband clean up those things that you're unhappy with, uh, I think you can rest assured that it'll happen, especially if you hit it from all three of those sides too. Um, if you do some visualization practices, right? Like the Ganden Lakyama practice. Um, if you're just working with the seeds in a 4-step way, and then also doing some sort of a recitation practice. And I'm pretty sure you'll see some results. And give it at least 6 weeks, but maybe even a couple months, but it'll happen. Uh, we've got another question here that says, could you kindly explain the difference between bok chok and gakcha? Could I identify bok chok as a dunchi? ACI foundation course level 13. Yeah, I mean, you could identify bok chok. So bok choks are usually considered, you got it. You guys have all been studying for a while, so I'm about to get a little bit more technical. I have a hard time speaking and answering questions, kind of like we have been. And questions like this are actually a little bit more down my alley. So um, there are two different ways we can kind of look at this question, right? You have the word bok chok in quotations, yeah. And so if we think of bok chok as a general category, yes, then it would be a dunchi, right? However, what I think you're saying is actual bok choks, right? Because we have two different, let's say, types of objects in the entire universe, don't we? Does anybody know the first type? Anybody out there? We've got rangzhen, something called rangzhens, and we have something called chitzens, right? Your rangzhens are going to be things like actual objects in your universe, right? Like this laptop, yeah? Like your feelings, right? So we have three different categories of actual objects of what's called rangzhens, right? We have changing things and unchanging things. And rangzhens are changing things. And within the category of changing things, we have three different categories of changing things. Does anybody know so we have physical things, we have mental things, and then what's the third category? Can anybody tell me? Rangsen, Chitzen, neither. Okay, Nguyen. Thank you, Nguyen. Yeah, it's not, yeah. So something, yeah, something which is neither physical nor mental, but it's still changing, right? So we have three categories of things. Bok chocks are usually in that third category. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Jolene. Yeah. Yeah. So bok chocks are usually considered to be things which are neither physical nor mental, but they're still would be considered changing. And that third category is where you would place just seeds, your karma, right? So your karma is going to be contained in that third category of changing things. Din Duce. Um, am I speaking too fast? Is everybody getting this? It's so hard when I don't have people in the room with me to like give me feedback. I feel like I'm so horrible at this because I can't see most of you. I can't talk to you. It's so much easier if I'm like in the room with you guys. Um, so bok
Adam, you're
choks.
doing great.
All right, thank you, Anjali. Thank you, thank you. I feel like it's like there's so much radio silence. It's getting awkward, you know. Um, like yeah. So the question was, can you identify bok choks as dunchis? If you consider bok chok, and this is where I want to make sure, Jolene, can you please clarify this with me a little further? Okay. If you're considering bok chok in quotation marks, bok chok as a general category, okay, then yes, you could say it's a dunchi. But if you're talking about actual bok choks, actual things, changing things, right? Does everybody understand the distinction that I'm making between bok choks as a general category and bok choks that would be Denman Duches in that third category? Can I get a head nod? Or Jolene, give me a thumbs up or something? I mean, this is very important because the question that you're asking is tied to Chichedrak, isn't it? Yeah. Um, okay. Yeah, I got a thumbs up. Cool. Everybody's giving me thumbs up. All right. Okay, now we're rolling. All right. We got another 30 minutes. So I feel like I'm just getting warmed up here. Um, so dunchis, okay, what does it mean to be a dunchi? Um, does anybody want to help me or should I just talk at you guys? So dun means object. Okay. Dun means object. All right. So when you have the word bakchak, it's called bakchaks, excuse me, dunchis for anything. Okay. Like if I say a coffee cup, the dunchi of a coffee cup, it's the thing that you think of whenever I say the word coffee cup. That's what a dunchi is. Does everybody get that? Yeah. It's in a technical way, we would say that a dunchi is an object referent. It refers to an object. Okay. So all objects have dunchis, don't they? Right? If I say laptop, you think about your laptop. If I say refrigerator, you may think about your refrigerator too. If I say pizza, right? Um, so when I say a word, right, the thing that it refers to, or that mental image that comes into your mind, is actually what a dunchi is. So I'm going to ask you a question now. This is an interactive class, so I hope you guys at least put it here in the chat if you agree with me. All objects have to have a dunchi. Can you have an object without having a word that refers to it? This is a question for all you smart people out there because I know how brilliant you all are. Well, what about a baby? A baby who doesn't have a word for a cell phone, right? Is that possible? A baby comes into the word and they don't have words to describe any of their mental images, do they? All right, maybe we're good. Maybe we're going a little bit. Does anybody have another question? Yes. Okay. Did that help at all? The question was, Irivor, the question was, can we consider bok choks to be dunchis? And on one level, I would say no, we cannot. Bok choks that actually do things, right? Let me ask you guys a question. If something performs a function, right? Is it a changing thing? Yes, it is. Thank you, Elena. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Tyler. Yeah, thank everybody. Okay. If something performs a function, it is a changing thing. Okay. Are bok choks changing or unchanging? Bok choks are changing, right? So there's no way that you could say that a bok chok is the same thing as a dunchi. That makes sense? Thumbs up. So I hope that answers your question, Julian. That's a very brief way of putting it, right? Bok choks perform a function, therefore they're changing, right? Dunchis are unchanging things. So they cannot perform a function, which means that they're not changing. Yeah. But if you wanted to consider bok choks, like you put bok chok in your question, if you wanted to consider bok chok as a general category, then yeah, you could say that. But that could get a little confusing. And I'm not here to confuse you guys. I'm here to clarify some of these questions, not to confuse you more. And thank you guys for bearing with me too. I felt a little, I was a little, I don't know, I was a little nervous when we first started. I feel a little bit less nervous now. Um, Hello, Adam. Anjali, hi. I'd love you could share how you would explain the difference between Tantrika and Prasangika schools, not in the sense of how each understand the gotcha and how each believes objects exist and perceives objects. I'd love to hear your explanation. Okay, this could get a little, well, actually, this is more than a little technical. Okay, where we're going to start though. Yeah, Dunchi also does not change. That's right, Jane. Okay. Somebody's asked a question about the specifics between the different schools. Okay. Um, I think what we should first clarify is how do we differentiate the different schools? What separates the different schools? I'm not asking what makes each one different specifically, but I'm asking what are some of the ways that we could start to divide the schools based on how they see things? Yeah, their understanding of emptiness. Perfect. See, perfect. Yeah. And one of the ways that we could look at that is, and this is how some people do it. Okay. So you can split the different schools based on how they understand things like the gakcha and emptiness. Most of the time, it's split on how they see the emptiness of what they call the selflessness of persons and the selflessness of things. Okay. And another way of differentiating the schools is by looking at how they view what you call ultimate and deceptive reality. Okay. So that's another way of looking at it, which is another way if you analyze how the different schools look at ultimate and conventional reality, or deceptive reality, that tells you where to start. Okay. So if we start at the lowest school and we look at how they view ultimate and deceptive reality, does anybody know how the Abhidharma school would differentiate ultimate and deceptive reality? Well, they say that anything is ultimate if it is irreducible. So if you can no longer conceptually divide something, okay, if it's irreducible, they say that's ultimate reality. That's why they go all the way back and they say that ultimate reality is just partless particles. Okay. Now, you see how the lowest school views reality as if physical reality, yeah, is ultimate. Does that make sense? How would the second school see ultimate reality? This is a question. We've spent 5 years translating this new book of J, where he's specifically, yeah, so if something performs a function, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we just went through in my text maybe last week. Um, yeah, it was last week. We went through what it means to be ultimate. J defined ultimate from the perspective of the second school. And he said that if something can stand up to an accurate perception, then that thing would be considered ultimate reality. Okay. Now, does anybody want to take a shot on how the third school, the Chittamatra school, would view ultimate reality? It's 50-50, yeah? Yeah. So if there's a subject object kind of duality there, um, so anyways, what I was trying to help you guys see before we stepped into this, because we're about to get in some deep water here. I'm glad everybody knows that the different schools are differentiated by how they view emptiness. But that's why I also brought up that it's also about how it's also tied to how you view two things, which is the selflessness of persons and the selflessness of things. Okay. Um, the fourth school, so the lower half of the middle way school, um, their main thing is that they believe that logic and reasoning is self-existent. Okay. So everything else, um, everything else is empty. Okay. Or is dependent upon something else. Okay. But they say that logic has its own way of working there, and that reasons are outside of reasons are the only thing. Does this make sense, guys? Some more thumbs up. Just let me know before I keep going. Yeah. Okay. Okay. More thumbs up. More thumbs up. Yeah. So within the fourth school, or the lower half of the middle way, um, they see all things as being empty of self-existence, except for logic and reasoning, because they believe that there is a power within logic and the ability to generate a realization within somebody's mind that they say is actually the only thing, right, that is not empty. or at least self-existent. Let's put it that way. And then higher middle way. How would we say that? All things are empty of self-existence, even reasoning, right? Okay. Um, am I boring you guys? Is this too boring? Anjali, was that enough? Like, so
Oh yeah, so boring. No, no,
well,
not at
I
all.
just I feel like I'm bombing up here. I feel like I'm like, you know, there you are. Hi. Yeah, so there's a few different ways. Thank you. It's nice. I feel like I can talk to you with you here on the screen now. Um, Yeah, so there are different ways of differentiating. If you really wanted to clue into it, you'd want to really clue in on the difference between deceptive and ultimate reality within the lower middle way and higher middle way. And then you want to clue in also on how the lower middle way sees the emptiness of persons and the emptiness of things. And then also kind of compare and contrast that with how the higher middle way sees deceptive and ultimate reality, the two truths, right? And how the higher middle way sees the emptiness of self and the selflessness of persons and the selflessness of things. Those are good places to start with all of the different schools. And there's great. I mean, we have a ton of material to go through, but that's kind of the main thing that separates them.
Mm,
That's why the that's why they're called the independent school, because they think that yeah, that reasoning stands independent of kind of all the other things that are empty.
okay. Yeah, I guess in the foundation course two, where an object, this is what Geshe was saying in the course, is that an object has to appear, and then someone has to be perceiving it in order for that object to exist in
Yeah,
that school.
yeah.
Um, so that's why I'm just looking for different levels of
Hold on.
clarification.
Okay, say that one more time.
So the definition in this Svatantrika school, according to what I've been listening,
Yeah,
re-listening to, relearning
yeah,
in
yeah,
Foundation Course 2, is that an object has to appear, and
yeah,
then a perception has to be perceived, someone has to be perceiving it in order for that object to exist in that school. So, establishing the fact that if it doesn't appear, then you could call anything anything. And if you didn't have a perception, then you could also, how do I say it? Like it's like two sides. If one side's missing, then
yeah.
you're basically making up reality.
Right,
So that's what I've been understanding. And then, in terms of the gokja, the
right.
same object that we deny, would we say it's the same thing in both the independent school and the higher school, right?
Yeah. Um, so I think one way of saying it would just be to say, so we're talking about the Svatantrika school here, right? And they they deny that they deny that things exist independently, like kind of without relying on causes and parts and concepts, just like the higher middle way would, right? But they still, it's almost like there's something left over a little bit. Um, so it's like things exist for their from their own side to a certain degree, you know, like as long as that existence is kind of dependently established, and it's not totally independent. Um, so I could see how it'd be a little unclear, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, the objects they exist as dependently like as they exist dependently, like independence upon their causes and their factors and things like that. But there's still like some kind of like feature that kind of anchors it to our perceptions. Um,
Something
uh,
materially has to
yeah, that's still
arise
there.
from its
Yeah.
own side, does its job, and you do your job. And but that's what I mean, that's why I was confused, because like 50-50, I thought was mind
It
only,
is more
you
mind
know.
only. Yeah, totally. It
Right,
is. Yeah.
yeah, but it's like a more, maybe independent schools more sophisticated 50-50, lower middle way, because that's where I got confused. I was like, what's the difference? And
Well,
for
that's
me,
and I think that's a really good way of kind of looking at it. The different schools actually bleed over into one another. Like they kind of
mhm,
mix in. Like the more you study Abhidharma and then you step into the second school, you'll start to see that there's a slight overlap, right? Like even the second school holds that that reality and physical reality is just comprised of partless particles, right? Which is kind of like a scientific view of things, right? It's kind of how modern science looks at things. And so you can see how like some of these ideas are shared, right, within the different schools, like stepping up the ladder, right? And the same thing happens from the second school to the third school. Because, oh, one second, somebody was chanting the Heart Sutra. um, I got my text message is somebody chanting the Heart Sutra. So it goes off every once in a while. Um, yeah, so from the second school to the third school, right, from Sautrantika to the middle way school, you see that the second school is actually broken up into two schools, and the lower part of the second school um, is what they call followers of the second school who tend towards scripture, and they actually tend to lean more Abhidharma. Then the higher part of the second school is what you call followers of reason, right? So they follow reasoning, right? And they're more Dharmakirti centered. All of the second school holds Dharmakirti's teachings to be true and just, but there's a school that actually, um, like I said, I don't want to get too technical with you guys, but um, there are some areas in Master Dharmakirti's text where he appears to take the stance of a mind only guy, which is very interesting because you never really hear that. But it's something when we start to talk about subjective aspects, or what we call akara, means aspect, and how there's a subject form, and this all relates to perception. And anyways, the higher part of the second school actually holds to some of the things that the mind only school says. So what I'm trying to point out here is that from the first to the second school to the third school, then the third school to the Svachochka school, you're probably going to see some bleed over there too, where there's kind of this like, the more you study it, the more it kind of pulls your mind into higher view, right? Because you start to see that everything is consistent, but it's almost like all of these authors and all of these very holy teachers are trying to lead us towards these higher views. And they do that in a steady way. So the more you study mind only, you start to see the independent schools kind of views like arising. And yeah, I like that book you got back there, uh, the King of the Dharma book. Is that back there? It's one of my favorites. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, really, and it is. If you wanted to be more specific about the way, if you wanted to be more specific about how we differentiate the schools, number one, we differentiate it on how they view the gakcha. Okay. And I've already given you two other ways, right? So one of those is you can look at how they view the emptiness of persons and the emptiness of things. A second way that you can view, and you can start to look at this and do research on your own if you wanted to take, we've got 7 more minutes. So if you wanted to take what we're talking about now and you wanted to do some research on your own, that's probably a good place to start, is looking at how each one of the schools views the gakcha, looking at how each one of the schools views the selflessness of persons and the selflessness of things, and then also looking at how they view deceptive and ultimate reality. And that, if you can study those things, you will have a pretty clear picture of how each one of the schools views different objects from the subject side, from the object side. Um, and that's probably a pretty good way to get a firm grasp on it. I hope I didn't confuse you anymore, and I hope I give you at least a little bit to like, you know, yeah. Like,
Yeah, I think
uh,
I think it clarified. I mean, it just clarifies the bleed in from school to school and how it's, he's like, well, um, I thought it was, in this school that this happened, this sort of part from its side, part from my side, because that
yeah,
sounded like full on mind only. But when
yeah,
it was taught, he's talking about lower middle way, and then this is the differentiation. Then he gets into logic, obviously, but um, differentiation between Madhyamika Prasangika,
yeah,
between this and this,
yeah.
that led me to think about what's the difference in the Gokja. I mean, I was sort of was sold on Prasangika right from the beginning. So to
No,
back
totally.
back
Yeah,
out into these other views is very important, because of when you meet people that might not buy it. There's a material existence, and they might be
yeah,
more likely to
yeah,
get into emptiness understanding if they can say, okay, 50% there, 50% for me,
yeah,
and how I feel about it could still help
yeah,
somebody. So I guess, yeah, that was really what I was after. It was like, the difference between those two different ways of seeing especially the
yeah,
gotcha. I was just like,
yeah,
the object we deny, it's not there at all.
yeah,
Deceptive reality is still occurring, but they differentiate on how it's occurring.
yeah,
And then, is the gotcha any different in either of those schools? I need to push my mind on that.
yeah.
That's what I'm
Well, it's,
really
I
kind of
think
interested
if you
in.
really, really wanted to look at it, I think to get back to your initial question, which was this object, right? And your consciousness kind of being anchored to it, yeah, in some way. Like the so the second school, one of the things that we started to look at was how so everybody thinks, okay, cause and effect, right? If something's changing, it's a cause, it's an effect, it's a, it's changing. Um, it performs a function, right? If something's changing, it performs a function. I didn't know this until I started. So been studying these things for going on 18 years now. It took me a long time, probably 5 years, that I've been translating my second book. And it wasn't until I got to the second book that I understood what the second school means when they say something is a functioning thing. They
Mm.
specifically say that something functions, the primary function of any object is to trigger a perception of it. Okay. So we all think like, like you can light a match and then light an incense, right? Like you can use fire to light an incense. And then that's somehow like a causal relation between the two, which, yes, that's true, right? When you get to higher middle way, not even cause and effect really works the way you think it does. Okay. Arya Nagarjuna refutes that even. However, in the second school, yes, things function. I can throw a rock through a window and it would break. Yeah. But another way of looking at this is really how do things primarily function? And the primary function of any object within the second school is to trigger a perception of it. Okay, so your awareness is being triggered by the object. Okay, that means that the object is out there, independent of your own perceptions, right? So, but then when your sense awareness kind of catches sight of it, that thing kind of triggers your awareness of it. You can take that same idea and kind of take it up to Svatantrika, right? So what they're saying is that things, I mean, how would I put it? Like, once again, that everything is coming from causes and conditions. That's why they're called the independent school. It means that they deny that things are independent, right? Of causes and conditions and perceptions, right? And how that steps up to Majjhimika is Majjhimika is super radical. They take all that and throw it in the trash. And they say everything is just labeled. Everything's a mere label, right? Um, and that's kind of a bare bones way of presenting it, right? But you have to take that understanding from the second school, how objects exist independently, and they're triggering our awareness of themselves. You could see how that would shift in mind only, obviously, because mind only says that there's no separation of subject and object there, that subject and object are both arising from the same seed. Yeah. And then take that and step that up into Svatantrika. You see? Um,
Mm.
it's just something to think about, you know. Uh, it's that it can get tricky. The Svatantrika schools, it could be, yeah, it's a little, yeah, it could be a tricky school, you know. We've
It's
got 1 minute
so
left.
fun. It's
Yeah.
no, it's so fun to press, I mean, we've been studying, you and I both been, a lot of people on this call have been studying for a
Oh
long
my
time,
goodness.
and
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
goodness gracious. I mean, a lot of this stuff is just, how long? It's going to take as long as it takes to learn
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
realize these things directly.
Yeah.
It's just so thank
But
you, Adam.
yeah,
Thanks
totally.
for entertaining that
Yeah.
question. I appreciate
We've
it.
got a we've got a great teacher. We've got so many. The biggest thing, we've got the best teacher we could ever
In the
possibly
world,
hope for.
yeah.
Yeah, ever possibly hope for. We basically have Jetson Kappa on our call coming up in a minute. So, um, yeah, so there's a lot of material to cover, right? And you can kind of get lost. What in America, sometimes people say lost in the sauce. You can kind of get like a little bit overwhelmed because there's so much to learn. But learning how, and this is where Ben's book would be amazing to really dive into, right? Because Ben's book is about all the different schools, all the non-Buddhist schools, but also really all the different kind of subcategories within the Buddhist schools as well. And I
The
think the way that yeah, the
Siddhanta, right?
Siddhanta.
Because
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Yeah,
yeah.
it's called All the Schools of Philosophy. So I urge everybody out there, if you don't, pick up a copy of Ben's book and study it hard. It will change your awareness. It will, 100%. Right? Anybody always lose? Echo. I don't know what that means. Um, Uh, thank you guys all. Sorry for the first like 10, 15 minutes there. I felt a little nervous. It took me a second to kind of loosen up. Um, but you guys are all great. And maybe I'll ask Nick if I could lead the next Q&A too. It's been fun hanging out with you guys. Good questions. Good
Thanks,
questions.
Adam. Thanks for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Geshe Michael used to say the answer to every question is seeds. So that's a good place to start. Yeah. Um, Now, so are we waiting? Yeah, we're for the cataloging class. Oh, we've got a 15-minute break.
There's a break. Yep.
Yeah, so we
Hmm.
have a 15-minute break. If you guys want to go get something to drink, go take a short walk, or I don't know, do a little yoga, do some push-ups, pet your dog. I don't know, but yeah, enjoy yourselves. Or, we have 15 minutes. I'm happy to answer some more questions if you guys have. I don't mind. Oh, it's so sweet of you guys. Everybody's being so sweet. Thank you guys. Hearts all over the place. Uh, okay. Yeah. Well, if you have a question, feel free. I'll hang out. Um, I'm gonna go get some. Oh, which book? Echo. Which book do we mention? It's called All the Schools of Philosophy. If you want, I can put a link to it down here um, on the Diamond Cutter website. I'll find the link for you. Um, Ben's book was just published, actually. We just got copies printed. Um, so
Is
you
that the
might actually
second one or the first one? The first
that
one,
was his
right?
that was his first one.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
because
was
they
his
they
first one
they were selling it in Kyoto, I
in
believe.
Kyoto. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
guys, sorry about that. Um, I've got a bootleg copy of it. I might be able to push here into the. I've got an old Word document I might throw into the chat here. Um, but okay, hi teacher. Thank you for the great. May I know in what language do you recite Diamond Cutter Sutra? I do it in English and some in Tibetan, or East. Excuse me, Western Chinese. But it's like if there's any prayer that you're going to memorize from start to finish, that might be a great one to start on. If you wanted to start a year-long memorization process, put that one in your head. Uh, that's a
Maybe
super
Adam, you could chuck that into the chat for people, maybe. That'd
the
be
diamond
nice.
cutter. Yeah, oh, and that's a great
Mhm.
idea. I've got a whole folder here of it was called my diamond cutter study material. I put a bunch of stuff in there. There it is. Thank you, Tyler. Tyler found the ebook for Ben's book. So Tyler just put a link to the book that Anjali and I were discussing. Give me just a second. I'm gonna throw the diamond cutter in here too. There's two different versions. I have this one, and I also have a one that's in a pecha form. And I usually use the pecha. Here we go. Here, take this one. This one's super nice. Yeah, so I usually use the second one. Um, that will force seeds to ripen. If anybody's ever done the was it course 6 on the diamond cutter? Um, it specifically says in the diamond cutter, if you're studying this and you're reading it, you're going to get some karma to move around. It specifically says it in there. So you're playing with some heavy equipment there.
Someone asked a question, Adam, about wanting to clear out their debts immediately and turn their financial situation around. How should I do
Ooh,
that?
ooh.
That's a
Um,
diamond cutter question.
that's
Good.
a kind of a diamond cutter question too. I mean, I hate to be so generic. If you wanted like an actual course of like a course of action, um, let me see specifically. What does it say? I want to clear out my debts immediately and turn my financial situation around. How should I do it? Echo, um, you got to get serious. You got to get serious. Okay. That's usually what separates people from achieving their karmic goals, from achieving the things that they really, really, really want, or the things, or clearing out the things that they don't want. Right. Is you got to get serious about it. So carve out some time, make sure you're doing your meditation, make sure you're doing your yoga, make sure you're keeping your vow book, okay? And make sure you're trying to help people who want the same thing that you want, okay? So it's not going to be hard to find people who need financial help. They're all around us, right? That's all around us. But if you really, really, really want to get the seeds to manifest, to do it quickly, you got to be doing your dedication at nights, right? You're rejoicing. Yeah. You have to have a strong rejoicing practice, simultaneously doing your meditation, doing your yoga, doing your vow book, right? And if you're doing those things while you are trying to help someone else reach financial success, you cannot go wrong. Okay. It's how things work. but you got to get serious about it. That's what separates people. It's got to be something you do every day, right? Um, and I tend to find echo what I found in my own life is that when I have very bad things happen in my life, when my life seems to just like everybody's had these situations, everybody's had something happen to them, um, but you tend to want to practice more, right? So if you're feeling kind of stressed out right now and you're in a very bad place or you're kind of stressed out and anxious, um, really fall into your practice, okay? And ride that wave. The suffering should help you, okay? The suffering should turn you on, okay? Um, and you got to get serious. It's not going to happen if you halfway do it, okay? You got to be wholly into it. Yeah. Make sure you're doing your meditation. Make sure you're doing your yoga, right? The karma that you get if you're doing the seven limb practice in your meditation is amazing. You need that virtue to help you from day to day. Okay. Your yoga is going to help those seeds flow easier, right? And your yoga is going to help you, you know, keep you in the frame of mind that you need to be in. Yeah. Make sure you're keeping your vow book and then take care of other people, right? So find somebody that's kind of going through the same thing financially, or find somebody who's just in need, you know? Um, are you guys, are there still translators here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm sorry to keep you guys here. Yeah, the translators. I just figured if we had a little break, if I didn't get to all the questions, I was happy to keep going.
Oh, that's cool.
But
No, that's cool. We're not supposed to start for another 5 minutes.
yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, you can go pet your dog, go for a walk, get something to drink. But if you guys want to, yeah, if you guys want to hear me yap on for a little while longer, I'm here. We did have a question. Maybe Venerable Paula could add something here. It says, "Dear teacher, I want to clear out my debts immediately and turn my financial situation around. How should I do this?" And I led into it just by saying, you got to make sure you're doing your meditation. You got to make sure you're doing your yoga, keeping your vow book, and make sure you're taking care of other people.
Yeah,
And,
beautiful.
and yeah, and keep coming to these classes. So,
And very
Geshe
serious.
Michael,
Yeah.
totally.
The only thing I would add is that, in the foundation course 5, we learn about how to make karma
Yeah.
be very powerful. And
Yeah.
there are ways you can do that to help
Thank you.
make the seeds you're planting be, first of all, certain to ripen,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then ripen more quickly. And
Thank
also,
you.
when you dedicate, to
Yeah.
dedicate it not just to your own, turning your own financial situation around, but for turning around everyone's financial situation. May there be no more debt anywhere in any planet, in any universe. May it all be cleared away. Like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there are some very beautiful dedication practices and rejoicing practices too. Some very beautiful visualizations that Geshe Michael gave us at one of the Lam Rims. I want to say it was like the second or third retreat. I've got a document of notes from that retreat, and if I can find them, I'll put them in the chat here for you guys. Yeah, I think Venerable Paula had something that I kind of totally spaced on bringing to you guys. Yeah, make sure that you're choosing the highest karmic objects that you can, right? If you really, really, really want to see it pushed out quickly. Yeah. And also, uh, yeah, make sure you're dedicating it and rejoicing at night. Um, but like I said, it's kind of like gravity. Like if you drop something, it's going to hit the ground. And if you plant the karma, it's going to ripen. Yeah. Let me see if I can find that document from the Lam Rim. I think you guys would really enjoy it. Mhm.
There's another really nice one from, I want to say Master Shantideva, but no, Master Kamal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the dedication prayer.
Yeah. That
Dedication
one's
chapter, yeah.
Here you
it's
go.
a
That's
beautiful one.
interesting. Interesting
I'll
you say
find
that.
that one
I
too.
just put
Do
it
you
up
have
there.
that?
I just
Let's
There you go. Master
let's send
Shantideva.
this stuff out later because I don't. It's not.
is it not approved?
Yeah. Let's just. Yeah. Let's take that one out if you can. Thanks.
Yeah.
And we can send
I
it
mean, there's
around
nothing.
later. Yeah.
There's nothing in it.
Okay. Okay. Cool. But
Yeah.
okay. Hold on one second. And let's take a 1 minute break because Geshe Michael will be here in just a moment for cataloging. He should be.